Has a loved one started a new, strange habit? It might be more than just a quirk. Clara watched her mother, Agnes, meticulously stack old magazines, aligning their edges with uncharacteristic precision. It was an odd task for Agnes, usually content with a comfortable clutter. Clara simply shrugged it off as a new senior moment, perhaps just boredom. When tidying up becomes a daily ritual, what's really going on? The next morning, Clara found Agnes in the kitchen, carefully arranging spice jars by size, then labeling them with surprising neatness. "Just getting things in order, dear," Agnes murmured, not looking up. A faint flicker of unease stirred in Clara, but she quickly rationalized it away. Her mother always loved a clean kitchen. Maybe this was just a more intense version of that. We've all dismissed subtle changes in our loved ones, but what if we're missing something vital? Driving home, Clara's mind drifted back to Agnes. These little acts of organization felt different. She remembered other small shifts she'd once dismissed. A forgotten appointment, a repeated story, chalking them up to just aging. But as the successful script had warned, most people miss these signs because they seem small at first. Clara felt a vague, unsettling prickle of anxiety. What if your loved ones, nesting, isn't just about tidiness, but something deeper? That night, long after Agnes was tucked into bed, Clara found herself hunched over her laptop, the screen a stark glow in the quiet office. Her mother's meticulous sorting of magazines and spice jars, which she'd initially brushed off, had begun to fester into a persistent, unshakable unease. Why now? She wondered, typing phrases like elderly organizing habits and sudden urge to declutter seniors into the search bar. She found articles about nesting behaviors, a natural inclination in later life, but the explanations felt incomplete, missing a certain depth. It wasn't just about keeping busy or tidying up. There was a quiet intensity in Agnes's actions that suggested something far more profound, a silent language Clara felt she was only just beginning to hear. What if organizing isn't just a hobby, but a signal? We reveal the 5 crucial signs. Clara sat on a quiet park bench the next morning, the crisp air doing little to clear her thoughts. She knew, deep down, that many people assume that the end of life happens suddenly. But the truth is, the body often sends quiet warnings months, sometimes even a year, before life reaches its final stage. The problem, as she'd come to realize, was that most of us miss these signs because they seem so small at first. And sometimes these warnings come not in physical decline, but in a sudden, profound urge to organize. In the coming moments, we're going to talk about 5 key signs that often appear when a loved one begins this quiet preparation, and how understanding them can transform your final moments together. Clara pushed open the door to Agnes's small home office, a room usually reserved for bills and a few dusty photo albums. Today, it was a hive of quiet activity. Agnes sat at her desk, her reading glasses perched on her nose, surrounded by an impressive array of papers. Old bank statements, insurance policies, even the yellow deed to the house, all were meticulously spread out, being sorted into neat piles. "Mom, what are you up to?" Clara asked, a slight frown creasing her brow. Agnes looked up, a focused intensity in her eyes that Clara hadn't seen in a while. "Just getting things in order, dear," Agnes replied, her voice soft but firm, as she carefully placed a will into a freshly labeled folder. "Gotta make sure everything's tidied up." She didn't elaborate, simply returned to her task, her slender fingers tracing lines on a faded document. Clara watched, puzzled. It was more than just tidying. It felt like a quiet, intense mission. Clara couldn't shake the image of her mother surrounded by all that paperwork. Is your loved one suddenly obsessed with old bank statements? This could be why. As she reflected later, it wasn't just about being responsible, though that was certainly part of Agnes's nature. This intense focus on financial records, on ensuring every detail was in its place, often stems from a deeper, more primal impulse. When the body begins to experience subtle declines, When independence feels just a little less secure, the mind often seeks control in areas it still can. Organizing financial affairs provides a profound sense of order and preparedness, a silent way of saying, "I have handled my responsibilities." It's the quiet message behind the paperwork. Understanding this can change everything. It's a way of making sure that when they're no longer here, they haven't left a burden behind. This isn't a sign of forgetfulness. It's a profound act of care, often misinterpreted as mere busywork. Don't dismiss it. Here's how to lovingly support a loved one, organizing their finances. Clara realized then that her initial urge to simply take over, to help by doing it for Agnes, would have missed the point entirely. The act of sorting was important to Agnes, so the next time she visited, Clara didn't just watch. She pulled up a chair beside her mother. "Mom, would you like some help with that? I can label these files for you, or perhaps we can go through your old receipts together." Clara offered, her voice gentle, ensuring Agnes still held the reins. Agnes looked at her, a flicker of surprise, then a soft smile. "That would be lovely, dear." This wasn't about efficiency. It was about shared purpose, about honoring Agnes's need for control and dignity. It was about making these final, often quiet preparations a meaningful journey they could navigate together, ensuring comfort and peace in every sorted stack. When old photos become a loved one's focus, they're not just reminiscing. They're telling a story. Clara found Agnes one afternoon, nestled on her bed, a dusty cardboard box open before her. Inside, a jumble of faded photographs and brittle yellowed letters. Agnes's fingers, gnarled with age, traced the faces in a sepia-toned picture, a faraway look in her eyes that Clara recognized as deep memory. "That's your Grandpa Thomas," Agnes murmured, a soft smile playing on her lips. "Before the war, so young." A moment later, a tear slipped down her cheek as she looked at another, a tiny baby wrapped in a blanket. "Your Aunt Susan, when she was just a wisp." Clara sat quietly beside her, watching, a tenderness blooming in her chest. This wasn't just a casual trip down memory lane. There was an intensity to Agnes's focus, a quiet purpose that Clara couldn't quite decipher yet. The silent message in their treasures. Why elderly loved ones sort their memories. This isn't just decluttering. Clara narrated, her voice gentle yet profound, as images of cherished keepsakes and old journals flashed across her mind's eye. It's a profound act of reviewing a life lived, deciding what pieces of themselves to leave behind. When a loved one pores over old photographs, letters, or keepsakes, they are, in essence, curating their life's narrative. It's a deep, often subconscious psychological need for meaning and closure. They're sifting through the chapters of their existence not just for nostalgia, but to understand their journey, to reconcile with their past, and to ensure their story is understood. This quiet act of sorting sentimental items often signals a period of intense reflection, a desire to process their life experiences, and to solidify their legacy. For families, observing this can be deeply moving, or sometimes confusing. We might wonder why these items suddenly hold such intense focus, often dismissing it as simple reminiscing. But it's far more significant. Don't just watch them sort. Listen. The stories they share are priceless. Now, with a new understanding, Clara approached Agnes differently. Instead of just observing, she offered to help. "Mom, would you like to put these into an album?" Clara asked gently, holding out a blank photo album. "Or perhaps we could scan some of them, make a digital collection for everyone." Agnes's eyes brightened slightly. "Oh, that would be lovely, dear." As they worked side by side, Clara didn't just organize. She listened. She asked about the people in the photos, the moments Agnes held dear. Agnes shared anecdotes, sometimes laughing softly, sometimes pausing with a wistful sigh. They weren't just sorting photos. They were creating new, shared memories, deepening their bond. The most important thing you can do, Clara reflected, is to create a space for these stories to be told, to listen without judgment, and to cherish the precious narrative of their life. Clara pulled into Agnes's driveway, noting the unusual sight of several cardboard boxes stacked by the garage door, labeled rather boldly, "Donate" and "Trash." Stepping inside, she found Agnes, a small dust rag clutched in her hand, energetically, for her, sifting through old tools and forgotten kitchenware. A faint, purposeful hum escaped Agnes's lips as she placed a chipped ceramic mug, a relic from Clara's childhood, into the donate box without a second thought. Clara's breath hitched. "Mom, what are you doing?" she asked, a mix of surprise and bewilderment in her voice. Agnes looked up, her spectacles perched on her nose. "Oh, just getting rid of some clutter, dear. Don't need so much stuff anymore." That phrase, "not needing so much stuff anymore," lingered in Clara's mind, a subtle shift from her mother's usual sentimentality. It was more than spring cleaning. It was a spontaneous purge, and Clara couldn't shake the feeling it held a deeper meaning. Clara watched, a knot forming in her stomach, as her mother continued to systematically divest herself of decades of accumulated possessions. When your loved one suddenly wants to get rid of everything, it's more than spring cleaning. Clara reflected, her thoughts turning inward. This wasn't just about tidiness or a desire for a minimalist home. This act of letting go of possessions, even cherished ones, was a profound psychological preparation. It was a lightening of the load, not just for Agnes, but Clara realized with a pang, for her family too. It connected to a deeper, almost primal instinct. As the body and mind begin to sense the approach of life's final stage, there's an innate inclination to simplify, to shed the physical weight, much like the body itself prepares to release its earthly ties. It's a subconscious detachment from worldly goods, a way of reducing the burdens for those who will be left behind. Many families, seeing this, try to intervene, to save items, to cling to the memories embedded in each object. But what if, Clara mused, this urge to declutter is actually a profound act of love? A final selfless gesture. Instead of trying to reclaim the chipped mug or question Agnes's decisions, Clara knelt beside her. "Can I help, Mom?" she asked, gently. "Tell me what you'd like to keep, what brings you joy, and what you're ready to let go of." Clara began sorting alongside Agnes, not as a rescuer of heirlooms, but as a supportive companion. It was important, she understood now, to allow Agnes control over what stayed and what went. This wasn't about imposing her own emotional attachments, but about respecting Agnes's choices, helping her find peace in the simplification. They moved through the garage, Clara carefully packing the donate and trash boxes, while Agnes, with a small, contented smile, pointed to items, explaining their history before quietly consigning them to their next destination. How to help your loved one declutter with dignity and understanding. Clara thought as she watched her mother, frail but empowered, make decisions about her life's tangible story. It was a quiet, shared moment of purpose, a gentle transition to a lighter existence. Clara walked into her mother's kitchen, expecting the usual scent of Agnes's herbal tea, but instead found a peculiar tableau. On the counter, meticulously stacked beside the sugar bowl, lay a pile of handwritten notes. Each one, a small, neat card, contained specific instructions. One read, "Clara, remember to water the peace lilies on Wednesdays and Sundays, not too much." Another detailed the precise settings for the washing machine, with a specific note about Agnes's delicate lace tablecloths. But the one that truly stopped Clara was a recipe card, yellowed with age, for Agnes's famous apple pie, a dessert Clara had made countless times with her mother. Below the ingredients, in Agnes's familiar script, was an added line, "For Clara, so you always know how to make it perfectly." Clara picked up the recipe card, a knot tightening in her chest. "Mom, what is all this?" she asked, her voice softer than she intended. Agnes, seated at the table, looked up with a serene, almost distant smile. "Oh, just getting things in order, dear. I want to make sure you know how to do everything." She gestured vaguely at the stack. "It's important, you know, to leave things clear." Clara felt a wave of bewilderment, touched by the gesture but slightly overwhelmed. Suddenly, your loved one is writing lists for everything. It's not forgetfulness, it's a message. Clara's thoughts drifted back to that moment, to the quiet earnestness in her mother's eyes. She understood now, with a clarity that both soothed and saddened her. This isn't just about practical instructions, or even a sudden concern for organization. It's sign 4, the creation of a legacy of instructions and lists. Clara realized these seemingly simple notes were a profound act of selfless love, a way to reduce future burdens and ensure continuity for their loved ones. When an elderly person begins meticulously detailing tasks or routines, it's often a subconscious effort to smooth the path for those they will leave behind. It stems from an innate desire to protect and care, to extend their presence and guidance, even when they won't be physically present. They are offering a final, gentle hand to hold, ensuring that cherished traditions continue, that essential knowledge isn't lost, and that their family feels supported in their absence. Clara knew then that her response mattered. She couldn't dismiss these notes as mere quirks or signs of forgetfulness. Agnes wasn't trying to control, she was trying to care. The next time Clara visited, she brought a small, elegant binder. Together, in Agnes's kitchen, Clara helped her mother organize the various notes. "Mom, this is wonderful," Clara said, gently placing the apple pie recipe into a clear sleeve. "I'm going to call this Agnes's wisdom. It's such a gift." Agnes watched her, a soft smile gracing her lips, her eyes conveying a quiet sense of validation and peace. Don't just read their lists. Cherish them. They are a final embrace. Clara understood that the most loving response was not to question the necessity of these instructions, but to acknowledge their profound value as expressions of enduring love. It was about receiving their wisdom, honoring their foresight, and letting them know that their care, even in this form, was deeply appreciated. Has your loved one ever made a subtle gesture, so personal it felt like a whisper from their soul? Clara found herself in just such a moment, helping Agnes tidy her nightstand. Among the usual trinkets, her fingers brushed against a small, sealed envelope. It was addressed simply, "Clara, to be opened when the time is right." A profound silence hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. Agnes, her hands slightly trembling, then cleared her throat. "Clara," she began, her voice softer than usual. "Do you remember that misunderstanding years ago about the old locket?" Clara's heart ached. The memory was faint, a silly disagreement long buried, but Agnes brought it forth with a fragile earnestness, hinting at a desire for peace, for everything to be clear. It wasn't just about an old locket. It was about ensuring emotional ties were whole, a final, tender plea for connection. When our loved ones begin to organize their personal sentiments, writing notes, or gently bringing up old hurts, it's not just a passing thought. This, my friends, is the body's and spirit's most intimate preparation. It's an instinctive, profound urge to ensure emotional ties are clear, amends are made, and final sentiments are expressed. Imagine a lifetime of experiences, relationships, and unspoken words, now being carefully sorted, like Agnes with her locket story. It's a deeply human need for peace and completion before a major transition, a final act of love to unburden their heart and yours. They are, in their own quiet way, preparing for a farewell, not just from life, but from any lingering emotional weights. They want to leave you with clarity, with love, and with the knowledge that all is well between you. Are we truly listening when they speak these precious words, or do we brush them off, thinking there will always be more time? For us, the family, this stage can be incredibly vulnerable, yet it's also an extraordinary opportunity for profound connection. When Agnes spoke of the old misunderstanding, Clara didn't dismiss it. Instead, she gently took her mother's hand, looking into her eyes. "Mom," she said softly, "the past is understood. It's loved, and so are you." In that moment, a tangible peace settled over Agnes's face, a release of a burden Clara hadn't even known she carried. The most important thing we can do is to create a safe, loving space for these expressions. Don't try to fix or rationalize. Simply listen. Offer unconditional love and acceptance, Allow them the dignity of completing their emotional journey, ensuring they feel loved, heard, and at peace. Because, in the end, it's not about preventing the inevitable, but about filling the remaining moments with comfort, dignity, and the enduring power of your love. Clara sat in her quiet living room, a collection of her mother's organized items spread before her, the crisp financial document, a faded photograph tucked into an album, a small, neatly labeled box of cherished trinkets, the binder of Agnes's wisdom, filled with lists, and the delicate, unopened envelope. She picked up each one, turning it over in her hands, a profound sense of understanding settling over her. It wasn't just Agnes tidying up. It wasn't a random string of activities. Clara saw it now, clear as day. The meticulous sorting of finances, the heartfelt curation of memories, the letting go of possessions, the thoughtful preparation of instructions, and finally, the quiet attempt to make amends and leave personal notes. Each act, seemingly small and disconnected at first, was a thread in a beautiful, intricate tapestry. Her mother wasn't just organizing her home. She was organizing her life, her legacy, and her heart. Agnes was intuitively, bravely preparing for a transition, not just for herself, but for those she would leave behind. It was a cohesive, intuitive process of saying goodbye, a final, loving arrangement of her world. Clara looked directly into the camera, her expression gentle and sincere, bathed in soft, comforting light. "And this, my friends, is the gift," she began, her voice steady and warm, "the gift of understanding. What started as subtle, even puzzling, changes in my mother has become a profound lesson. We often assume death in old age happens suddenly, but the body and spirit often send these quiet warnings, these calls to order, months, sometimes even a year before life reaches its final stage. For me, recognizing these wasn't about fearing what was to come, but about transforming that fear into preparedness." She paused, a thoughtful gaze in her eyes. "It gave me the opportunity, the chance to provide better care, to cherish those meaningful moments more deeply, and most importantly, to ensure that my mother's final stage of life was filled with comfort, dignity, and peace. These signs aren't just details, they're an invitation, a profound invitation to connect, to listen, and to love without reservation." Agnes's living room hummed with a quiet warmth. Clara sat beside her mother on the worn sofa, a half-empty teacup resting on the side table. Agnes, her head gently nestled against Clara's shoulder, held an old, faded photograph. A younger Agnes, vibrant and laughing. No words were exchanged, none were needed. It was a moment suspended in time, filled with a comfort that transcended any conversation. Clara's hand, resting lightly on Agnes's, absorbed the gentle rhythm of her mother's breathing. In that serene embrace, Clara understood that the most profound organizing wasn't about papers or possessions. It was about organizing one's heart to be fully present, to truly see, and to simply prove with the one you love. It was the quiet, profound peace of shared presence. Clara looked directly into the camera, her expression sincere and reassuring. As we come to the end of our journey, we've talked about these 5 unique signs of organizational urgency: the meticulous sorting of financial records, the tender curation of sentimental items, the deliberate decluttering of a home, the thoughtful creation of lists and instructions, and those deeply personal notes and wishes. She paused, her gaze steady. These aren't signs to be feared. They are, in fact, quiet invitations. Invitations to understand, to connect, and to make the most of the precious time you have left. Understanding these subtle shifts isn't about fearing death. It's about being prepared with love, transforming a difficult period into one of profound connection and dignity. Clara offered a warm, inviting smile. "You are not alone in this journey. Many families have walked this path, and your experiences are incredibly valuable. We'd love to hear from you. Please take a moment to leave a comment below and share one thing you learned today, or perhaps a subtle sign you've noticed in your own loved one. Your thoughts and insights truly help build our community and support others who are navigating these tender moments." She gestured gently. If you found this video helpful and inspiring, please give it a like, subscribe to our channel, and share it with someone who might benefit. Your support helps us continue creating content that informs and empowers. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to connecting with you again. Why does the human mind nest before the end? The psychology behind the organizing urge. Clara shifts slightly, a thoughtful expression on her face. When we observe these profound urges to organize, whether it's financial papers, old photos, or even decluttering a home, it's easy to see them as just practical tasks. But beneath the surface, there's a powerful psychological process at play, often referred to as life review. This isn't just about tidying up, it's a natural, deep-seated need in late life to reflect on one's journey, to make sense of experiences, and to find a sense of completion. Clara gestures gently, perhaps towards an unseen visual aid. Our brains, in their incredible wisdom, seek order and closure as a way to cope with significant impending change. This impulse to organize becomes a coping mechanism, a way to exert control when so much else feels beyond control. It's a method for the mind to process its own transition, to ensure that the narrative of their life is understood, and that their legacy is, in their eyes, settled. It's their way of preparing not just for an ending, but for a peaceful transition, both for themselves and for those they love. Practical ways to help, tools and tips for supporting their final organizing journey. Clara smiles gently. So how can we best support this deeply personal process? Remember, it's not about taking over, but about assisting and respecting their agency. Simple tools can make a world of difference. Consider a Baja Legacy Binder, a simple 3-ring binder with dividers for financial documents, medical information, important contacts, and even those treasured recipes or instructions Agnes loved to write. For photos, instead of overwhelming albums, perhaps a small, dedicated memory box for their absolute favorites, or even a digital photo frame that cycles through cherished images they've selected. She picks up a small, neat binder. Beyond the physical tools, the most powerful support comes from open, empathetic conversation. Create a space where they feel comfortable sharing their wishes, their memories, and even their concerns about what comes next. Resources from hospice organizations or elder care advisors can offer gentle guidance on how to approach these sensitive conversations about final wishes, ensuring their voice is heard and respected. Empowering them in this process, in these final acts of care and control, is truly one of the most loving gifts we can give. Clara sat in her home, a gentle smile playing on her lips as a montage of moments with Agnes drifted through her mind. She thought of the organized finances, the carefully curated photo albums, the decluttered shelves, the binders of instructions, and the quiet understanding that had passed between them. These acts, once puzzling, now shone with a profound clarity. The greatest treasure they leave behind isn't in a box. It's in your heart. Clara narrated softly, her voice filled with warmth. We spent so much time on the paperwork, the lists, the sorting. But what truly mattered, what truly endured, was the love we shared, the stories we exchanged, the comfort we found in each other's presence. Agnes's peace in her final days was a testament not to her perfect organization, but to the deep, unwavering connections she nurtured. She remembered a recent quiet embrace, Agnes's head resting on her shoulder, a moment of pure, unspoken love. Clara turned, looking out her window, a serene outdoor scene blurring behind her. Her expression was one of gentle strength and profound understanding. You are not alone. Find strength, patience, and peace in this journey of love, she said, her gaze now directed towards the viewer, reassuring and calm. This path, while sometimes difficult, is also an incredible opportunity. It's a chance to deepen your connection, to offer comfort and dignity, and to make every remaining moment truly count. Don't be afraid to lean into these moments. Embrace the present, offer your love unconditionally, and know that you are giving the most precious gift of all, your presence. Clara offered a gentle, confident smile, a beacon of hope and support. Clara smiled, a graphic summarizing the 5 signs appearing beside her. We've covered a lot today, haven't we? Remember, those 5 quiet calls to order, the focus on financial records, the curation of sentimental items, the urge to declutter, The meticulous creation of lists and instructions, and those deeply personal notes and wishes, they are all precious signals. She gestured towards the graphic. Each one offers a chance to connect, to understand, and to ensure comfort. If any part resonated deeply, or if you want to revisit a specific sign, please feel free to watch again. And if you're looking for more ways to support your loved ones through life's transitions, explore our other videos. Your journey of compassionate care continues, and we're here to help guide you every step of the way.